nationally determined contributions. Now, before we get into what are these newly established nationally determined contributions, I just wanted to tell you all what are the nationally determined contributions. Okay, so now we have this one organization which is known as UNFCCC. UNFCCC, which implies United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. This UNFCCC is an organization, it is a convention which was established as part of the 1992 Rio Earth Summit. All right, this 1992 Rio Earth Summit gave birth to 3 sister organizations. One of them is UNFCCC, one is Convention on Biodiversity, and the other is Convention to Combat Desertification. Okay, so this UNFCCC, which seeks to combat climate change, has its yearly conference of parties every year. So one such conference of party took place in 2015, which is known as, it took place in 2021, I believe, and it was known as COP15. Okay, this COP15, I'm forgetting the year, children, I can check the year, but the COP is known as COP15. And as per this COP15, which is also known as the Paris Agreement, so as per this Paris Agreement, it was ensured that all the parties who are signatories to the UNFCCC, all such parties, what are they supposed to do is that they are supposed to align NDCs. Okay. Now, what are NDCs? NDCs imply nationally determined contributions. What are these nationally determined contributions? Nationally simply implies that each and every country's own determined contributions. That is that each and every country must align their respective contribution, and contribution to what? Contribution to combat climate change. So these contributions were simply goals that countries were supposed to set in order to lower the negative impact of carbon emission in the atmosphere, and carbon emission was one such thing which was resulting in climate change. All right, so this is what each and every country had to do, and on regular periodical intervals, each countries, they have to update their nationally determined contributions. So as per the COP15 NDC that was aligned by India, as per the 2015 NDC, what India aligned as its nationally determined contributions, India aligned 3 basic nationally determined contributions. That what did India wish to do is that India wanted to have 50% of its total electricity installed capacity to be generated from non-fossil fuels. Okay, so 50% of India's total electricity capacity was to be generated from non-fossil fuel based energy resources, meaning that the government sought to have renewable energies to generate electricity and not burning of fossil fuels. All right, then the second one was that it wanted to reduce its emission intensity. Its emission intensity by 44% of the GDP. Okay, and another, or the third one that India had aligned was to create a carbon sink. Okay, what is a carbon sink? A carbon sink is basically an area which the government had to outline, and mostly it aligns with major patches of forests in the country, which could trap the extra carbon dioxide that is there in the atmosphere and replenish the carbon dioxide with oxygen levels. All right, so India sought to create a carbon sink of 2.5 billion to 3 billion tons. Okay, this was India's goal, and all of this India wanted to achieve by 2030. All right, so last year when the latest COP happened, Conference of Parties, so last year this conference of party took place in Belém. It was COP30 that took place in Belém in Brazil, and there it was again reiterated that each and every country they have to submit their newly determined net national contributions. Okay, so now India has increased its contributions, and the new ones that India has undertaken is that now instead of 50% of India's total electricity to be generated from non-fossil fuels, now India seeks to have 60% of it. Then the next is to reduce its carbon emissions. Previously, it was 44% of the GDP. Now it has been increased to 47% of the GDP. And similarly, carbon sink, previously it was 2.5 billion to 3 billion tons. Now it is 3.5 billion to 4 billion tons. All right. The previous ones were to be achieved by the year 2030. The new ones are to be achieved by the year 2035. All right. Out of this, we had this one particular target, which was to generate 50% of our total installed electricity capacity from non-fossil fuel energy sources, which we had to achieve by 2030. This was one thing that India had achieved 5 years ahead of its target, that is in 2025 itself. All right. So this is what this entire news piece is trying to tell you. So please take pointers of this. This is an important piece of news. Okay. All right. Then another important information is that the central government has asked the Reserve Bank of India to maintain its inflation target at 4% for the next 5 years, and this 4% is subsumed of plus minus 2%. Okay. Achha. Now what is this? Now in 2016, the government of India, it created a committee known as the Monetary Policy Committee. All right. This Monetary Policy Committee is a 6-member committee. 3 members are from the Reserve Bank of India and 3 members are from the government of India, the central government of India. Okay. And the purpose of the MPC is basically two. One is inflation targeting, and the other is to foster economic growth in the country. Okay, so it has two basic targets: to undertake inflation targeting, and the other is to foster economic growth in the country. Now, in 2016, the government had kept a inflation target of 4% plus minus 2%, meaning that the Reserve Bank of India and the government together, they have to maintain an inflation rate between 2% to 6%, 2% on the lower end, 6% on the higher end, and the ideal case was supposed to be 4% of the inflation. All right. Then this was again for a 5-year period. So from 2016 till 2021, this was supposed to be the inflation target range. Then it was again extended for another 5 years till 2026. And now in 2026, the central government has again directed the Reserve Bank of India to keep the retail inflation target at 4% till 2031. Okay. So again, keep it fine. It's important. All right. Now coming back to everything that is happening in West Asia with respect to the Iran-Israel war. Okay. So day before yesterday, we did see that Donald Trump had said that both the countries, that yesterday only Donald Trump had, in yesterday's newspaper, we had seen that Donald Trump has said that he has declared a 5-day ceasefire between Iran and US war, and basically during this ceasefire period, ceasefire simply means putting down your arms and not fighting for the next 5 days. And during this 5-day period, both Iran and United States of America, they would try to negotiate a peace agreement. All right. And in this peace negotiation, the mediation is being provided by Pakistan, which is fairly ironical, but Pakistan here is sought to provide mediation. All right. Now, as per this peace proposal, the United States of America, they had put forth 15-point plan for Iran to finally broker peace between the two countries. Now, what are the various provisions of these 15-point plan? As per this particular 15-point plan, they basically say that US is ready to, give rollback sanctions that have been economic embargoes, oil embargoes, etc., that have been put on Iran. The United States of America is absolutely ready to, somewhat roll back or sort of give certain concessions in terms of Iran's nuclear powers, and then also they've somehow placed a limit on the total nuclear weapons, nuclear energy increase of Iran. Also, they've called for reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, and they've called for that Iran must not extend support to militant groups in the region. And all of this 15-point program has been tabled in front of Iran by Pakistan. Okay. Then we also had the opposition leaders in India who had pointed fingers at the Indian government that Pakistan is playing the role of a mediator in this entire war. Why is India not doing something like that? So our foreign minister S.J. Shankar, he did say that India does not wish to play the role of a mediator here, and India is not a dalal like Pakistan is. Okay, all right. Then Iran has naturally dismissed the entire 15-point program that US had put forth for in front of Iran to bring to a peaceful conclusion the entire war. And Iran on its own has put forth 5 basic demands and has said that if these 5 demands are met, then Iran can think about bringing or establishing peace between the two countries. All right. Now, what are these basic demands? A complete halt to aggression and assassinations, concrete mechanisms to prevent future attacks, payment of war damages and reparations, an end to fighting on all fronts, and recognition of its exercise of sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, so these are the basic 5 demands that are being put forth by Iran. And then on one hand, US is putting a 15-point program to bring to an end the entire war. On the other hand, the US is deploying 1,000 elite troops in West Asia, anticipating the further extension of the war. All right. Then S. Shankar has said that we do not wish to play the role of a dalal, and we don't wish to act as mediators. Pakistan has had a history of brokering peace in the West Asian region. All right. Then, amidst all of this, Israel has continued its entire war with Lebanon and is undertaking the entire all attacks to root out Hezbollah leaders in Lebanon. Then Donald Trump has again issued a statement saying that US is going to further escalate the attack on Iran and is going to this attack would be on a massive scale and would be an even hard attack as till now has been undertaken in Iran. All right. Okay, then another and more important one is that the transgender bill has now been even approved by the Rajya Sabha, and naturally there was a lot of opposition to this passage of bill again in the Rajya Sabha as well as we did see in the Lok Sabha yesterday. And in spite of all of this opposition, flagging concerns over passage of the bill was still passed in Rajya Sabha. So now the bill has been passed by the Lok Sabha. The bill has been passed by the Rajya Sabha. It is now waiting presidential assent to be finally implemented in the country. All right. Today we've been discussing this for the past few days. There we also have a good editorial piece on it. So we'll discuss it there as well. Then there is another authority which is known as the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights. The National Council for Transgender Persons, NCTP, and 2 people, they've resigned from the NCTP amidst the entire differences of opinion in terms of the new change that has been brought under the transgender bill. Okay. Okay, so this is the same article on another newspaper, the Indian Express. This particular article is basically an insight into how the bill is a different bill, how the bill is trying to do away with the rights that have been extended, that were extended to the transgender community till now. And here it's an interview from Zainab Patel, and who is a transgender rights activist and was also one of the contenders of the Nalsa judgment. Just remember that Nalsa judgment, it was a major breakthrough given to transgender rights in the country. All right. Now, quickly looking into the new provision and the most controversial one in the Transgender Act. Now, we had the protection to transgender Act of 2019. It is this particular act that has been amended in 2026. And what is the provision that has been amended in 2026? The provision that has been amended is the provision of self-declaration. Okay. What is self-declaration? That in the 2019 Act, the persons who did not identify themselves with either of the two sexes, that is the male or the female biological sex, they could self-declare themselves as trans men, trans woman, transsexual, bisexual, whatever, and they would be given that category as per their own self-declaration. All right, the 2026 amendment has removed this provision of self-declaration and has basically said that no person will be given the right to self-declare themselves as a transgender person, but it would be a person would be categorized as a transgender person only after approval from the district magistrate, and the district magistrate or the commissioner would naturally look into reports submitted by a medical board, rightfully submitting in detail whether a person actually belongs to a transgender category or not. Okay. All right. Then day before yesterday, we did take up the implementation of the Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam. I think yesterday only I did explain to you all detail. So this article again talks about the government's plan to expand the Lok Sabha. Why the government seeks to expand the Lok Sabha? Because firstly, a new parliament has been created, which can get more people seated in it. Then we have constitutional provisions of Article 81, Article 82. Article 82 basically talks about delimitation of seats for Lok Sabha, and Article 81 tells us that the maximum number of seats as of now have been fixed to 545 of the Lok Sabha. All right. So 545 is the number of seats that has been fixed as per the 1971 census data. All right. And when we look at the number of seats in the Lok Sabha, these seats are mostly representative seats, meaning that one MP is supposed to represent a certain number of population of the country. All right. So mostly the delimitation or these alignment of territorial constituencies are undertaken in proportion to the population of the country. All right. So one MP is supposed to take it in proportion to a certain number of people or population in the country. Back then the population was less, so we had 545 seats. Right now we do not have the new census data, but as per the 2011 census itself, our population is 121 crore. But we had the UN population report that was published last year, and as per the UN population report, the Indian population is 142 crore. So naturally, the 142 crore population is not being adequately represented by 545 seats. So the seats in the Lok Sabha, they have to be increased so that effective democracy can be realized and practiced in the country. All right. So keeping in line with that, right now we don't have the census data. The census data will be received to us in 27, but the delimitation exercise had to take place in 2026 as per the 2001 amendment, which said that delimitation would take place in 2026. Now the government wants to begin the process, and this beginning of the process will be undertaken as per the census data of 2011. All right. So that is what this article basically tells us, that on the 2011 basis, the delimitation exercise has to take place. The government is planning to increase the Lok Sabha seats to 816, and out of which 273 seats will be for women. Okay. And if the government wants to increase this seat, so naturally they will have to bring about an amendment in Article 81 of the Constitution. So not only do they have to undertake this entire exercise through the establishment of the Delimitation Commission, but they also have to undertake a constitution amendment in the Constitution. Okay, as to amend Article 81. All right. Then the next is, yesterday we had the World TB Day that was celebrated, that is observed on 24th of March every year to raise awareness for tuberculosis. And we had a program that is TB Mukt Bharat, under which the government had an aim and agenda to root out TB from the country by 2025. All right. how, and this 2025 target was an overly ambitious target, which the government had kept 5 years ahead of the SDG 2030 target. All right. So under the Sustainable Development Goals, we have SDG 3, which is for good health and well-being. So rooting out tuberculosis is a part of SDG 3. And as for SDG 3 and naturally the entire Sustainable Development Goals, it has to be achieved by 2030, but India set an overly ambitious goal to root out tuberculosis from the country by 2025, which India was unsuccessful in doing. So now yesterday, the health minister, JP Nadda, he has extended, or he's rolled out a new program, which is 100 days extensive campaign, all right? A 100-day campaign to root out major TB, to root out or eliminate TB from the country. And to do so, they are going to now incorporate AI powered screening, nutrition aid, etc., and catch hold of TB patients, probable TB patients, and naturally make TB medicines, etc., accessible to the population in the country. Okay. Then the government has issued a guideline saying that everybody must switch to piped natural gas till it is available, and if it is available near your houses, near your wherever you live, and if you have been intimated with a message from the government that you must switch to piped natural gas supply if it is available, or you will be losing on to LPG supply. All right, and this you have to do within 3 months of receiving this communication or message from the government. All right, then coming to the editorials for today. The first one is on the Transgender Persons Amendment Bill, that why is it so majorly flawed? Because it is naturally taking away the person's right to life with dignity. You are not letting that person have the freedom of choice to self-declare themselves as a transgender person. This authority was extended to the person in 2019, which has been taken away by them through this 2026 Amendment Bill. The bill has been passed by both the houses of the parliament now. It is only awaiting presidential assent, which the president will naturally give. All right. So again, a good article. Please go through it, gives you a good insight. Then this particular article talks about democracy and how in a democracy, everybody basically has access to basic fundamental rights. But recently we had this major global event, which was Artificial Intelligence Impact Summit in 2026. The concluding day of the summit saw protests by the National Youth Congress members, and they had gone shirtless and, you know, basically created major ruckus outside the Bharat Mandapam where the summit was actually taking place. So this resulted into a cascading events of debates in the country, which basically said that is protesting not a part of democracy? And if you are taking away the basic right to protest, which is also a fundamental right in the country as per Article 19 of the Constitution, then how are we upholding ourselves as the largest democracy in the world? Right? Then, okay, now the World Trade Organization's Ministerial Conference number 14, okay? It is supposed to begin from today till 29th of March, and it will take place in Cameroon. So in this 2 days back, we had an article on plurilateral plurilateral pacts or plurilateral coming together of various members of WTO within WTO framework, and how is it taking away the basic essence of the entire provisions of the organization. All right. So when I say basic essence of the organization, it simply implies that the World Trade Organization was established to do away with tariff hurdles and to ensure that the world fares well in the face of globalization and liberalization. All right. And this organization was established by the United States of America simply to keep the United States of America at an advantageous position. But of late, we did see China and also the stark enemy of United States of America rising up in the organization itself, World Trade Organization itself, and trying to strike pacts with different countries within the organization. All right. Then also there are key issues which include plurilateral agreements. Plurilateral agreement simply implies that this is a multilateral organization with 166 members to the organization, and certain trade pacts are struck within the organization, not amongst every member in the organization, but only a group of certain members in the organization. So such an agreement is known as a plurilateral agreement. Then another problem is the e-commerce section, and also there was an appellate body which acted as the major dispute adjudicating body, which was removed by the United States of America. So now they are talking about that how can they bring back that particular system. Okay. So again, a good article, keep an eye out for it. Then we all know that India is hosting the BRICS summit this year, and it is we are in a catch-22 situation, in the sense that we are the host countries or country for the 18th BRICS summit, and in the extended BRICS section or the BRICS plus category, we have countries like Iran, we have countries like Saudi Arabia, and we have countries like UAE. They are fairly new members to BRICS, and all these three countries, they are in war in West Asian regions. And actually, they have hostile relations as of now in West Asia, and it is putting forth a very grim picture that whether these countries would be a part of the summit, and if they don't be a part of the summit, then naturally it could be a massive drawback or a setback for India as the president of the BRICS summit of 2018. So it also says that now India is acting like a voice of global South. So India should not shy away from taking stances, from taking stands for at least countries with whom India has alliances, and India must voice its opinion and also use its position of as one of the leaders of the global South countries to navigate through this entire challenge in West Asia that the countries are currently facing, and then to naturally put forth its entire effectiveness as a global South leader. Okay. Then the next article is on G7. We have the G7 summit that is scheduled to take place, and this year it is being held in France. And last year it was held in Cananskis in Canada. This year we have it in France, and France is one such country which also keeps on calling for dialogue diplomacy. Here in G7, United States of America is a part of G7, engaged in a war. G7 is a organization which is mostly inclusive of the developed countries of the world, established in 1975. Last year completed 50 years of its existence. And G7 mostly talks about a democratic global world order, which seeks to recognize each country's territorial rights, sovereignty, integrity, etc. So this year, France, as the chair, is naturally working to ensure the strengthening of strategic supply chains, building of a safe global world order, fight against drug trafficking, build safe digital environments for our children, etc. Okay. All right. Then another article on Pakistan acting as the mediator between the Iran-US war, and Pakistan has gone to the extent of even putting forth the idea that Pakistan could be that one country where maybe the representatives of US and Iran can sit face to face for a direct talk among themselves. Then the article moves forth and gives us an insight that how Pakistan in previous instances also tried to mediate between the countries in West Asia during Henry Kissinger's time, and in 2019, etc., where they tried to act as mediators. And very recently, we did see that Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, they had also struck a pact of cooperation, trade, defense, etc., among themselves. And Saudi Arabia is also one of those countries which has been affected by the entire war. So this could basically be a major problem for Pakistan if in case Pakistan takes the side of any of the two. Okay. All right. Then this article again talks about that why Israel is undertaking an attack on Hezbollah. So I've taken this up for you in previous classes also, but very briefly I'll tell you that just yesterday or day before yesterday, Israel had said that Israel is going to occupy the Lebanese territory till the south of the Litani River. The Litani River is around 30 kilometers from the Israeli border upwards, and this entire region from the Litani River till the Israel's border, what does Israel seek to establish is a defensive buffer. A defensive buffer simply implies a zone which could act as a time giver to both the parties in case Lebanon or Israel, they try to undertake a land war between themselves. All right. Now, Lebanon and Israel, they have been in war. The first one took place in 1982 with the establishment of Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a militant radical group in the region which sides with a Palestinian, sides with the Palestinian cause, and also Hezbollah militants are mostly Shia Muslims. Now, after the breaking of war between Palestine and Israel between Hamas and Israel in 2023, Hezbollah also undertook concerted attacks on Israel, but a peace was brokered between the two countries in 2024. But in 2026, after the death of Ayatollah Khamenei, Hezbollah undertook attacks on Israel again. Why? Because Israel undertook assassination of the Shia community leader, and most of the Hezbollah militants, they are all Shia leaders. All right. Also, they are basically saying that the Lebanese government also would like that Hezbollah should be disarmed, but it lacks the basic resources to do so, and therefore it can't undertake much efforts to disarm the Hezbollah militants. All right. Okay. Then another news in brief, very briefly, that you have to just keep in mind, that the United Nations has designated African slave trade as apparently the gravest crime against humanity till now, and has asked for compensation from different. All right. Then just keep in mind that Sarah Mulali, okay, Sarah Mulali, she becomes the first woman to lead the Church of England. Till now, we did not have any female to lead the Church of England, but she becomes the first one to do so. Then last year we had Thailand-Cambodia clashes, and this entire crash is basically for this one particular temple, Shiva temple in Cambodia. It's a Hindu temple and one of the most beautiful ones, one of the largest one. It was declared as a World Heritage Site, and since then it has been a major point of contention between Cambodia and Thailand. And amidst this tension lies this temple has not been reconstructed. Okay. Then 24th of March is also considered as Genocide Day in Bangladesh. 25th of March. 25th of March is also considered as Genocide Day in Bangladesh. Why 25th of March? Because it was on this day that the West Pakistan Army undertook an operation codenamed as Operation Searchlight. Okay, Operation Searchlight, and as per Operation Searchlight, the army of West Pakistan purposefully caught hold of the nationalists in East Pakistan or present Bangladesh and exterminated them or killed. All right. So he has issued a statement. He's just commemorated 25th of March as Genocide Day in Bangladesh, and has said that it was a pre-planned massacre by the Pakistani forces. All right. Then Harish Rana, who became the first citizen in the country to have been permitted passive euthanasia by the Supreme Court, he passed away yesterday, and finally he was cremated. He passed away day before yesterday, and he was cremated yesterday. All right. Then India has inaugurated and is now upholding its first international film festival in Delhi. All right. So that was all for today's newspaper analysis, and I'll see you all soon in the next. Thank you, children.